Wine's becoming more and more popular today, but let's be honest.
Wine can be intimidating.
And expensive.
But it doesn't have to be.
We're four wine enthusiasts that have found that great wine can be found at your local grocery store for $12 or less.
Each week, we taste a bottle and let you know our thoughts.
I'm Tabby.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Mary.
And I'm Dez, and we are your Cheap Wine Club.
Hey, it's Cheap Wine Club. I'm Tabby.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Mary.
And I'm Dez. Welcome back to the Wine Club of no fees and no dress code. Do you know that in Napa Valley,
shedding then.
there is dress code?
I've heard it's horrible.
Yes.
I've heard.
Like some of them, depending on how nice it is, will be like suit jacket and no jeans and things like that.
And no jeans.
No jeans.
Yeah.
So
And,
no pants, huh? Suit jacket, nothing.
You know, it's funny. I don't know if you knew this, but there are other types of pants things that are made out of jeans.
That's just where my head went first, right off the bat.
Of course it
Say
did.
jeans
say
aren't
no
even made
pants.
in of jeans. If you look at women's jeans, it's like 95%
Polyester
spandex
and
and then like
So true.
Yeah.
blue
Colored to look
polyester.
like
I'm pretty
jeans.
sure
Yeah,
even my
like
jeans
denim.
are starting to have spandex in them.
Oh, men's skinny jeans, you know that is 100% spandex.
Andrew doesn't wear skinny jeans on purpose. That's just how thin he is. He's the only ones that fit. Okay. For a long time, wine was exclusively the area for men. In fact, BC, BCE, however you want to say it, in Rome, women weren't allowed to drink wine, and if they did, it was grounds for men to beat or divorce their wives.
Wow.
Yeah, if they drank wine. Exclusively for men.
What?
So because of this,
Sucks.
an organization of females over time, so for a long time it was only for men.
Wow.
So
Women have been so degraded throughout history. It's like not surprising.
much later, I'll be honest with you now, that whole BCE thing was misleading. I'll say that first thing. That's a misleading statement, so don't... It's a true statement, but for the question, it could mislead you.
Okay.
For
Okay.
the question, it could mislead you.
Fake news.
So, because of that, for a long time, men have just been the main people in the wine industry and whatnot, until eventually a group of females began an organization called Le Don del Vino, which was an organization for the promotion of the role of women in the wine industry.
Screw you, man. I'm drinking wine.
What year was that organized? What's your guess on the year that was organized? So men had run the wine industry for too long. Women wanted to step up and created an organization that promoted women in the wine industry. Le Don de Vino, I think is what it is.
I'm going to say 1945.
No, that's too
1945.
late.
Yeah, that is too late.
Because
Alright.
women's suffrage was like in the
20s.
20s, yeah.
Here.
You think
Ameri-
wine
here
is
in
a-
America.
Yeah, but
And
the
Europe was a little ahead.
suffragists?
Yeah,
Suffragettes? Anyway.
Suffragettes. I think you're right,
Anyway,
actually.
they
yeah.
were
Really?
mostly not abolitionists.
I mean, maybe.
What did we call it when we got rid of alcohol in this country?
Prohibition.
Prohibitionists?
Yeah, prohibition.
Most of them were prohibitionists.
Really?
also.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they equated alcohol with male violence toward women.
Right.
So,
Which isn't exactly wrong per se, but...
I think it was actually quite an epidemic back then.
anyway, 1945. It's my answer. I'm sticking with it.
All
I
right.
think they changed it
like
while the
in
men were at war.
So I actually think it's from the 1800s, maybe, because in the 1800s, there wasn't like called a movement, but there was a slight movement of women to like push their daughters to be more like well educated. It wasn't just going to finishing school; it was actually sending them to like have an education and things like that. So I'm gonna put a guess and say like 1850.
I think you have a great point, Mary, because I just finished reading a book about Thomas Jefferson's daughter, and they lived in France for a while, his daughter and him, and they were way ahead. The women were more boisterous and promiscuous in France than in America. So I think it was much sooner than the 1900s. I'm going to say 1871.
Let's say this. 1871, what do you got?
1850.
1850 to 1945. It's actually, if this is any hint to you, it's a little more than a decade after the last time France used the guillotine in capital punishment.
A decade after the last time they used that.
France used the guillotine as a form of capital punishment.
So 1700.
I know. I was going to say
No, they used that in
1690.
the 1800s.
Did they?
This is what I love because both
The
of
French
these things
Revolution,
are,
you're right.
both of these things are going to be shockingly recent for you guys.
Really?
France is still chopping off heads?
1977 is when France last used the guillotine as a
No
form of
way!
punishment.
That's awesome! Those French people. I mean, they just surprise everybody.
1988
That's
is when Le Don
Really?
Divino. Le Don
Are you
Divino was formed.
serious?
And I am absolutely serious.
Wait.
Yeah.
Women were not allowed to drink?
No.
Again, so this is why I was telling you that BCE thing was.
You should not have said that.
I told you it was misleading information. I warned you.
Oh.
What I'm
I thought
saying
you meant
is that
Women weren't allowed to drink till 1988?
my mom was in trouble.
You barely made it, Tabby.
No, I'm just saying that was how extreme it was in history. But over
Right.
time, obviously, it got better and better. But the wine industry was a place for men forever.
This
Forever.
fraternity.
Oh, and that was
And-
just them saying, hey,
Yeah.
we have a spot in this
Sorority.
industry
Yeah,
too.
within my lifetime. I don't know, when were you guys born?
88.
90.
89.
So not your lifetime, whatever. Within our lifetime, and even then, maybe yours. I don't know
Barely.
exactly. Yeah.
It's okay. Mary and I were born in a much more just wine culture than the two.
I had to suffer through the dark years. Okay, so yeah, 1988 was the time that Le Don del Vino was created, and also 1977 was Hamida Jandoubi was executed in 1977
that is wild.
with the guillotine.
Wow.
That is wild
Yeah.
to
Did
me.
he get to choose? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I
they
do
give
know
you-
that they get to choose.
Okay.
So-
So he chose.
to have his head chopped off?
I'm guessing that would be a lot faster
Than the electric
anything
chair.
else.
Maybe
Yeah.
that should have been
I
the
think I'd
question.
choose the
What would
guillotine.
you choose?
Yeah.
What would you choose?
I'd choose guillotine
Just
over
trying to
electric.
imagine myself.
I feel like guillotine would
Okay,
be a
we're
really
getting off
epic
topic
way
here.
to
I
go.
may or may not edit this depending on how long the conversation goes. But did you know that firing squads, back when they did firing squads, they would have like 12 guys and they would have one live round and 11 blanks.
Yes, right.
And they would have them all aim for the exact same spot. That way nobody knew who actually did it.
them.
And that way there would be this thing of like, maybe I didn't actually kill anybody.
Right.
Maybe, and it was a way to help relieve the guilt of the guys
executioner?
pulling the trigger. Yeah, and so it was just a way for people to feel
Yeah.
better about it.
Which makes sense. They don't do
I think
that.
that's
They
actually
don't
pretty
do that
cool.
with the electric chair or lethal.
No, there's a guy who.
Yeah,
they
they're the
have-
person.
Yeah, people who do that for sure. So, anyway, so on to a much better topic, a much better one.
I'd pick the guillotine.
This is
would I.
one. So it's a guillotine.
Guillotine.
You plebe.
What did you say?
Guillotine.
Guillotine?
You are so
Gilligan's Island?
Anglo right now. Anyway,
Guillotine.
so what is some of the best advice you've ever received?
Ooh.
And this could be on any topic that's helped in any way. And so I'm going to go ahead and start because I have one. This is one of my people asked this question before, and I always answer this one of the first thing. My dad was a very conservative guy in politics, but my mom, when they met, was much more on the liberal side, and so they had good conversation, and he became a very wise and accepting guy as it comes to politics. Anyway, so when he and I would talk, this would always be his thing about no matter what you think in politics, there's always one question you have to ask yourself: who's going to pay for that? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anything. It could be the most just, most right thing on the planet. The question is going to be is who's going to pay for that? Because if you want to say that everybody should get free health care,
Nothing is ever free.
who's going to pay for that?
Yeah.
You know, which that'd be great. It would be awesome if everybody could have free health care, of course. If we could do that somehow perfectly.
I like people suffering.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would say no to that. But if the money's got to come, we got to pay our doctors. These machines cost money. Where's that money coming from? You can't just say the government should pay for it.
Right.
There are trillions
Or it
of
comes
dollars
from
in
somewhere.
debt as it is.
Right.
Yeah, that money's got to come from somewhere. And that has always helped me. No matter what my opinion is, I always ask myself immediately afterward, who's going to pay for that though? How in the world are we going to sustain my political opinions? So it is by far some of the best advice I've ever received in my life. And I think that a lot of Facebook posters today could really, really do with that advice.
That's a really great, simplified,
It is, isn't it?
slate view of this.
It doesn't matter what your opinion is. It could be that you want to build a wall. Who's going to pay for that? It could be that you want free healthcare for everybody. Who's going to pay for that?
Right.
It goes to both sides. It
Right.
doesn't. It has no bias at all. But it's a reality question that you have to ask, no matter what your opinion is. Who's going to pay for that? And if you can't
That's
answer
really
it,
great.
then you need to change your opinion.
Man, I can think of a lot, but gosh, this is probably pretty generic. Like a lot of people probably got this advice at some point from somebody in their life. But first time I ever heard it was from my pop-op, who's my grandpa on my dad's side. And anyway, he always said, and it was a big deal to him, that you should leave a place better than when you found it. And
Yes.
I feel like that's more, applies to more in my life than just like when you house sit for somebody, like you do an extra dish or whatever. It kind of then applies to everything that you do in life, like your job and relationships and that kind of thing. So
Or-
it's probably why I hate litter so much. Somebody didn't have a pop-up.
I don't know. I've had two really good ones that have been kind of like the basis, like one for growing up and then one for kind of my season of having kids. So do we have time for both? Or
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So my first one growing up was from my dad. We were like middle class, but we grew up in an area of upper class. And so, like I didn't always have the nicest stuff as like everybody else. I didn't have like I ski raced for like a portion of my childhood. I didn't have the nicest skis like as everybody else did, or whatever equipment that kind of equalizes the playing field. And my dad would always say like they are the exact same as you. They put on their pants one leg at a time. And it just.
Oh no, rich people, they
that.
do it both legs at a time, man. they have somebody some servant hold their pants for them, and they just jump it.
The point
He lied
is
to you.
like, he was just trying to, like, enforce the fact that, like, they're not better than you.
Yes.
You have just as much capability as they do, and, you have nothing to lose. And that's kind of just stuck, like, and that was kind of the basis of my confidence. I mean, you guys all know me. I'm, like, very outspoken person.
Yeah.
And I just, like, I don't care what people think most of the time.
It's the way to live.
And, it's helped me even through my career. Like, I'm a nurse, and there's, like, this stigma between nurses and doctors. A lot of times nurses aren't, like, they're afraid to stand up to doctors.
There are
I'm just like,
X amount of
excuse
nurses
me.
watching this right now that are like, you tell them, girl. Like,
My dad used to say something very similar, except when I was going through different types of judging things and whatever, he would always tell me, those judges have diarrhea too.
Oh, God.
That was his version of it.
I like that. Like the most embarrassing or like whatever sort of like difficult.
And sometimes I think
Like,
about
everybody
that.
farts or whatever.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think about
absolutely.
the president like having diarrhea sometimes, or the Queen of England has
Oh, yeah,
diarrhea
no,
sometimes.
wow, okay. Out of context quotes from Andrew White. I think about the president having diarrhea sometimes.
So anyway, like, that advice has stuck with me throughout my life, throughout my career, and I feel like it's been very good. The other one comes from...
No, I get my turn now. Because it reminds me...
Okay.
No, you go back to yours in a second.
Okay,
but that reminds me of one that my brother told his son, and I picked up like on the side, is nobody is smarter than you, they just know more than you do. And the difference there is like, look, somebody may be incredible at whatever X thing, but that's because they've taken the time to learn and to study and to become
Right.
good at it. Everybody starts even.
Yeah.
Everybody has and that's not necessarily true. There are some people who do, but for the most part, everybody starts on an even playing field. You get to choose what you want to do, though. And if you see something that you're really passionate and excited about, and somebody's better than you at it, well, then practice, learn, do more. Nobody's smarter than you. They just know more than you do.
That's great.
Cool.
So, yeah, and then the other one was I'm a mom of 2 small kids, and I chose to go back to work because I'm passionate about my own career, but I had this, like, really overwhelming guilt about somebody else raising my kids, like in daycare. And my mom had the best advice for me. She goes, Mary, do you want the best for your children? I said, yes. She goes, well, if you take your children to daycare and they're thriving, they're learning, they're having fun, they're, they're thriving. Like, that is what's best. You are doing what's best because that is what you want. If you take them to daycare and they're not, they're sad, they're anxiety, they are upset all the time, they're not learning, they're being bullied, then that's not what's best for your child. And that's when you know to make the decision to stay home with them or like take them out of daycare and put them somewhere else.
That's good advice.
Yeah, and so that is kind of what's always like stuck with me of like whenever I like feel guilty, like, oh man, like I wish I could just stay home with my kids. It's like, is this like me thinking what's best for me? Or is this thinking what's best for my kids? Because right now it's me being selfish in my wants of like wanting the best, when in fact like my kids going to this preschool, they're learning so much and they're having like friend interactions and all these things and they're thriving in it. So it made me re-examine of like my own feelings of guilt and things.
Yeah, and then of course on the flip side too is like they could be in daycare where they're thriving, or they could have an exasperated, stressed out mom who's at home, like who's not following her passions in life. And I like that a lot. Yeah, to me,
that was good.
When my kids still tell me, I love you, Dad. You're the best dad in the world, and things like that. And that's just an objective truth, but they believe that and they really feel that, and so I guess no matter what I'm doing, I guess I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
So, Tabby, do you have any? If not, I have another one. I'll go with one more here.
Okay.
I have one more that my brother taught me when I was younger. He told me, in any relationship, I was in high school, like a junior or senior in high school, says any relationship. I was talking about girls, but he says in any relationship, there are 3 C's. 3 things that start with letter C. They're the most important things in any relationship, no matter what. Communication, communication, communication. And he says, it doesn't matter who it is or whatever. It's your teacher, whether it's your friends, whether it's your girlfriend. Communicate with them. Talk to them. Are you frustrated with your teacher because you're not? Well, go tell them. Go tell them that you feel like you're not understanding it, and I bet you that they're going to help you out. Are you upset with your parents because of a decision they made? Hey, go tell them. Go say, hey, Mom, Dad, like, I'm struggling. And especially with my spouse today, like, hey, am I frustrated with my spouse? Is there, like, something I'm struggling with? Why would I just bottle it up? Why not just, like, sit down and be like, hey, I want to that bothered me. But, just want to, like, communication in any relationship at all is just drastically important. And as long as you're not going to, like, try and make a huge deal out of it, just communicate with people.
Great.
Good, yeah.
Brother sounds very wise.
I know.
He's a literal genius. Yeah. That's actually true. He is a literal genius.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So...
He also subscribes to this podcast, so I have to say nice things.
And by podcast, he means YouTube.
Whatever this
channel,
is.
yeah.
Okay, so I was trying to think, like, what has stayed with me all of these years? I would have to say my husband, so I grew up...
That's me.
Everybody's looking at
that one?
That one? No, the other one.
Okay, I don't know how to say this. I had an upbringing of like alternative medicine stuff, and it was on the way far end of that, kind of questionable things, and very afraid of the government, and the government was out to kill us, and all of these things. So, certain things, no vaccines, all kinds of things like that. So, or like the jet fumes. What are those called? Chemtrails. Oh, that's out to kill us. So anyway, that's what I grew up with. And I married Andrew pretty young. We were 20 and 21. And so he had a lot to overcome. So we had a lot of discussions. And there were a few times where he said, how can you live like this, always fearful of the potential of somebody being an evil person and wanting to harm you? How can you live that way? He said, I choose to believe that the majority of people are good people and want good for other people. And I know that, like, that's kind of like, I don't know. I can see that not relating to a lot of people.
I think.
Oh, really? But for me,
She
it was
said
huge.
something like
That was huge because I overcame. That was when I was able to overcome this fear of government overtaking us, or they might be. I don't know.
There's one conspiracy out there that's like, no, Tabitha, go back, please. Like, one guy is there with his tinfoil hat, like so disappointed in you.
But like it would destroy me and how
Absolutely,
I thought.
driven with that much
It's
fear.
overwhelming.
I would much rather believe the best in people and be proven wrong than just believe the worst in everybody. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's some of the best advice. So, good job, Andrew. And good job, Anne Frank.
I was gonna say, to be clear,
Cocobon Red Blend, non-vintage. Let's talk about this wine for a second here. I would like to go first.
Okay.
Because this is, on the back, I believe it's a $6.50 or $6
Yes,
bottle.
$6.50.
$6.50 bottle, and I am a fan. I like it. It has really dark fruit notes to it. Its nose, I'm going to go with like a black cherry, just really rich, jammy notes to it. I will say the finish is a little bit tart to me. The finish is a little bit too much, but it's full-bodied. It's rich. It's got dark fruits right there on the palate. I like it. I like it a lot.
You know, I think what you said about cherries is absolutely correct. I think there's a lot of flavor and spice to it and everything. I'm trying to think what I would pair this with. This seems like for like a heavier meal. I'm going to say like a pot roast maybe, or something a little bit heavier. I would not, I would not put this with like a salad or like anything
Agreed.
light. I would definitely pair this with something a lot heavier. And it surprised me that this was a $6 bottle, because to me it tastes more of like a $9 or a $10 bottle.
I
Like
agree.
the
This
finish
real
is really good, the flavor is really great, and I want to drink more. Like I think I saw Andrew pour like a second glass, and I'm just like, quit drinking it all. Like,
that was mine.
yeah. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I would buy this again.
I agree. For the most part. At first, I couldn't approach it. The nose was strange to me to begin with. It's a little crayon-like, the nose.
Like cranberry?
No,
No,
like
crayon.
Oh,
like
crayon.
wax crayon. Crayon?
Somebody
you know
has
that's two
kids.
syllables,
Cray-
right? Crayon.
No, I was trying to
Crayon is
emphasize.
not
I
one?
know that's not a
No,
two-syllable
it's a
word.
crayon.
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 Crayon?
Crayon.
It is?
Yes, it's two syllables.
What?
Oh.
Crayon.
Not rayon. I'm not talking... Crayon?
Crayon, yes.
Crayon.
You know, rayon is
I
spelled
have
exactly
no
the same way.
idea.
I grew up in Ohio, which is part of the Great Lakes
You're
and
wrong.
Midwest. We're allowed to say things incorrectly. That's part of the rule. Mary.
Okay, anyway, you talk about your
Beg.
cranberry.
Whatever. Okay. People.
My
make-
sister says beg, too.
Thank you.
And I say
Thank
dog. I say dog.
Dog. It's
Yeah.
so annoying.
Dog?
A dog.
It
It's a
drives
dog.
Chris crazy how much you
Eh.
say beg.
Go get
Anyway.
the dogs,
Beg,
eh?
brag, play. Come on, people.
Crayon. It smells like crayon. Crayon.
Crayon.
Crayon.
Crayon.
Crayon.
Crayon.
Crayon.
Crayon.
Crayon.
I can't do that. You people keep ruining my life, telling me that it's
No,
not
no.
Reese's, it's Reese's.
It's Reese's.
Reese's.
It belongs to Reese.
Who
It
says
belongs-
Reese's?
Reese's.
Oh my gosh.
I
What
was
is
wrong
going
about that
on?
one.
Anyway,
It belongs to a person named
all of
Reese.
you people.
It is Reese's. How is that difficult?
I can't do it. It's
Reese's.
crayon. Anyway.
I say Reese's also.
No,
you.
Reese's.
I know.
Like,
you,
That's
you were the one.
because-
You're the one that started this for me because we
Montana is kind of
years
like
ago. You were on a service project with me, and they gave us candy afterward, and you got Reese's Pieces, and you're like,
Reese's
it's Reese's,
Pieces.
guys. Guys,
Reese's
it's
Pieces, right? Yes.
Exactly. And
It's
she's like, no,
Reese's
guys, it's
Pieces.
Reese's because it's like a play, like a joke, like Reese's Pieces, and I'm like, or get this, it's the word pieces, and it's Reese's Pieces.
No.
I had no idea what the impact I had on your life.
Well, so you did that
My
first.
whole
and then
childhood just
I
got
heard
flushed
so
down
many
the
other
drain.
people were like, no, it's Reese's, and I'm like, there's an English word of pieces, and that
No,
English
but
word,
it's like the
Reese's
candy. It's
Pieces.
different. It's
Rhymes.
Reese's Pieces.
Reese's.
How about you
Reese's
comment?
Pieces.
How
I
do you
agree.
like to say it? Reese's Pieces
Okay, this is
or
what- this is my take on
Reese's
it.
Pieces?
Okay, there's the
No, that just sounds
there's
weird.
the Midwest.
Straight down.
And Montana nor Ohio are part of the Midwest, actually. But Montana's kind
own
of is the
culture.
western reach of the Midwest, and Ohio's the eastern reach of the Midwest. And that's my theory on why
so like
we
it's
have
just
these
wrong
weird
over
things.
there, and over
They're
here we
close.
pronounce.
But we're
the word
allowed
bar.
to.
We're
If you're
ahead.
oh yeah, I like that. If you're a linguist, it's correct.
Okay, what do you think
Hey,
of the wine?
You should
Anyway,
do that.
crayon is the nose.
It's like in Texas
Anyway,
now.
so I couldn't get
Don't
into
get
it at
that
first.
Crayon.
I couldn't get into
Come
it
on,
at first,
fellas.
but it's a really fun wine to drink. It's
Fun.
really it's soft and pleasant.
It is absolutely.
it's a deeper, darker wine than is my personal preference, but I really like it. Like, honestly, I think it's like I could just keep drinking it.
I agree.
Wow.
There's the word
really good
drinkable,
$6 bottle.
and that just means like it's just so easy to drink. Like it's so soft on the palate, the flavor is so enjoyable. No
Yeah.
part of it is overwhelming, either good or bad overwhelming. But it's just.
I
so
actually am
drinkable.
enjoying the acidity just because the wines that edge towards that port-like thing where they get really dark and rich are too much for me. And so the acidity kind of lifts it a little bit at the end. So I'm enjoying it.
Okay, so I will say that I like it the least of all of you.
Okay.
I figured.
It's just too jammy for me.
That makes
Way
sense.
too jammy.
Yeah.
I agree with all of your descriptions, but I don't like jammy wines. So, and the acidity at the end helps it for me, but I like acidity a lot. So
I will say it doesn't have a whole lot of tannic structure. Tanninese.
Structure. Tanninies, yeah.
Can I say what I noticed?
Tannies, panties.
It's tannies, isn't it? You know, like tannies.
No.
Panties.
we messed
Tanny
up
panty
a
droppers?
couple episodes. We both were like tanninies, and that was
tannies.
so wrong.
This episode is devolving.
Well, I'm gonna move forward with the observation that I just
Okay,
noted.
go ahead.
So my rule is I will never buy wine with screw tops because I automatically think that it's just going to
cheap.
be a bad waddle. Bad waddle. This
Waddle.
conversation is devolving. A bad bottle because of that. And I just realized that this is a screw top. And I'm like, I would have never have bought this wine because of that reason. And it's a little, I think I might
So
change
here's the thing.
my...
I actually met an owner of a winery, a winemaker, like a
Yeah.
guy who does all this stuff, and he said that screw tops are actually the most successful way to preserve your wine.
Right.
Really?
Because they create the most successful seal. Now, the reality is most winemakers don't want to do it because they're pretentious.
Right.
Because wine is a
Yes.
pretentious field. It just is. Let's be real.
Yeah.
We're pretentious.
And we
are.
all like to,
Yeah.
you know.
And so...
Oh, I love
And collect them.
So
screwing.
his thought was...
Andrew's like, yeah, she does. No, it's kidding.
Whoops. Whoopsie baby.
Andrew's turning really red right now.
Most people do, so.
Speaking of out of context quotes...
I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyway, let's...
What were we saying?
Screw tops.
Yes.
So screw tops create a seal both in this part, like the serrated part down here, and a seal on top. And it's most easy that when you screw it back on, you can recreate the seal on the top. And so it continues to preserve the wine. He's saying winemakers, we're pretentious, so we like cork. We like cork. He says chances are people are going to start going toward rubber because rubber corks, they can look
fail.
like cork. And they don't fail. They don't make
I
a
hate
corked
rubber
wine.
corks, though.
They don't do anything like that. They
When
just
I discover a rubber cork, I'm like, damn it, I bought cheap
I
wine.
know. I know.
But screw
Cork
tops,
is cork.
he says, are the best. And he says that's the
Really?
way everybody should go with screw
Huh.
tops. So
Interesting.
anyway, okay, we're long on time. Let's go not with screw tops. Let's go with
I think we should do screw tops.
Yeah.
okay,
Corks.
screw tops out of 10. Corks out of 10. Sure, no, corks. That's better.
4 for me.
Oh wow, 4.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for this.
All right, 4 out of 10.
I think because this is a $6 bottle and it surprised me so much, I'm going to do 7.5.
7.5. All right. I'm gonna do 8.5. I
Really?
really like it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think it would pair really well with a lot of meals. And you guys know me. That's really where wine gets me. Is if I can pair it with a good meal, I think this would pair really well with a lot of different things. So.
I'm going to give it an 8 as well. Not because it's my preferred type of wine, but because a lot of wines are trying to go dark like this and jammy, but this one has kept some acidity, which most of them have not. And that, I think, gives it
fair.
a high mark.
That's
So,
good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that was Cocobon's Red Blend Non-Vintage. I will say with a name like Cocobon, I expected a more chocolatey flavor, but it did not have...
No.
I mean, maybe you could have gotten that. I don't think so. But anyway, it was good, though. Most of us liked it. Tabby didn't. That happens sometimes. I didn't like the Pinot Gris that we tried. And
Right.
That happens sometimes. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for laughing with us. You tell us, is it Reese's Pieces or Reese's Pieces?
Reese's
In fact, you don't even have to tell us. just Google it and prove them that they're wrong. Like, it's not hard. It's not a difficult process.
We could do bag. How do you say
Reese's.
bag instead of
Bag.
bag?
Bag.
It's also
I can't
dog,
it's like bag.
not
I feel like I'm a
Dog.
sheep when I'm
Yeah.
saying bag.
Goodbye, everybody. Remember to save time for a glass. Cheers.
cheers.